everyone, Kareem right here, and today I have the pleasure to interview Quincy Amarikwa, who is a 13-year MLS or USL pro soccer player, a USSF licensed coach, an MLS Cup champion, founder of Black Players for Change, Evolve NFTs, Leverage Investments Group, co-founder of Limpcare Foundation, and founder and CEO of PerfectSoccerSkills.com. Quincy, thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast with us.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to getting into the weeds on a few things and seeing where the conversation takes us.
Absolutely. So can you just take us way back in time for, where soccer all began for you?
Well, soccer for me started with my dad. So my dad's Nigerian, born and raised in Owerri, Nigeria. Obviously, soccer traditionally has been the number one sport in the rest of the world, other than the States. But we've been steady working on changing that narrative. And I think with the upcoming World Cup, we'll just see that continue to develop here further. But that was my connection to the game. I just loved playing it, and it afforded me an opportunity to spend time with my father, and that's just what it was for me, and that's what got me going. I think like earliest memories would be like 3 years old, and then from then it's just been playing the beautiful game since.
Awesome. You've had, a decade plus in the beautiful game. What are three key takeaways that you could share with us that you've learned along the way?
Oh, okay. Well, let's say decade plus from the professional. So I'll keep it dialed in on just from the professional level. Takeaways: have a long-term vision, remain committed, disciplined, and dedicated to it, and learn to accept uncomfortable truths quickly.
Yeah. And you mentioned that your dad got you involved in the beautiful game, but was the plan always to go pro, or were you just playing it because you loved it?
Uh, Not even a little bit was the plan to go pro, right? I played because I loved playing the game, and just the creative outlet it afforded me, just growing up in Bakersfield, California. And I think just kind of my natural approach to the game, from just being a very competitive and wanting to figure things out, and the ambition to want to just give 100% every single time I was out on the field. It didn't matter if it was a game, if it was training, or whatever that was. I think it lent itself to me developing professional habits, which then opened up the door to professional opportunities. But growing up, I didn't watch soccer on TV. I didn't have a favorite team or a favorite player that I looked up to. It was just the game for what it was and what it meant to me, and the relationship it allowed me to develop with the relationship and the time it afforded me to develop with my father. So, yeah, that's what it was. And then, um, as time has gone on, I've come to have a greater appreciation for the game, for those from different points of view. I became a very big fan of the game, from the players that I play with along the way. So like I'm a fan of my teammates. I think that'd be the best way that I could describe it. Like, as I continued through the ranks and I played with more and more players, I just become fans of my teammates, and I study how they play and how they think, how they move, and then study their stories of how they got to where they are and how they became professionals in their own way. So it's kind of I guess an unorthodox approach or non-traditional approach to the game, but it's served me well, and it's, I think, given me a very unique point of view that's been very very positive in developing relationships and cultures and locker rooms from the teams I've played with.
So, second last question in regards to soccer specifics. I want to be respectful of your time. I want to talk about the beginning, and starting with the beginning. Can you just dial in? Usually, I have a playlist called hashtag Pro Soccer Talk, where I really dial in on how players went pro. So if you could just share a little bit of that information of how exactly it happened, and then I want to fast forward to the end of how how should players plan for the end of their professional career.
Okay, so down how it happened. It happened because of how I approach the game every single day. I play the game every time I step on the field like it's the last time I'm ever going to step on the field. And another way of thinking about that is just extreme gratitude for having the opportunity to even be able to have the physical capacity to kick a soccer ball and be on the field. So being extremely present and grateful for just the opportunity to get to play in the moment should be more than enough motivation to give 100% of your effort at any moment in time. So that's what afforded me the opportunities along my journey to earn the tag of professional, to earn the, to earn getting paid to do the things that I love doing um, uh, along the way. And then you'd said, fast forwarding to like a decade plus long career for players, how I feel or believe they should be approaching it. I think it'd be very in alignment with how I was sharing with my teammates early on in my career how I felt we should be approaching it, which is planning for post career. So most players don't want to hear that they should be thinking and planning for post career while they're in the middle of their career or at the beginning of their career before their careers even started. But I think that speaks more to the entrepreneurial mindset and mind of me. I tend to share. I'm an entrepreneur who happened to play professional soccer, or happens to play professional soccer, and I think from that lens, when I look back on what's been over 10 plus years playing so far, um, I can I can acknowledge I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. You got to make mistakes because that shows you're trying and looking to improve. But one of the things that I know I got right, and I would very much encourage other players to follow suit and do the same, is already start planning for your post career once you start playing, like as you're playing, because as much as we don't want to admit it, there will come a day where you won't be able to do this anymore in whichever capacity that results in. Whether that's playing at the professional level, maybe unfortunately some individuals have injuries that don't allow them to play anymore, and then everything in between. So I think being mindful of that and investing that extra time you have, or the available time you have um, when you're not on the field, in setting yourself up and learning the skills, and yeah, learning the skills you're going to need in that post career transition, I think should definitely be a larger consideration. But I think most players are starting to kind of to understand that and figure out the balance, so that you know they still make soccer their number one priority, because I think that's what a lot of players want to do and where and how they want to think about it. But I've always been in the camp and have shared that you're more than just your abilities on the field as a player, and but it is also your responsibility to develop those skills off the field as well too, so others can see and yeah, and work with you in that capacity as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I've seen players, after their career either become lawyers or doctors, or not on the good side where they're stuck and they don't know exactly what to do because soccer's been that top priority. So yeah, I think that's a great point. You mentioned again, going back to that decade long career, you've played for a lot of teams. Could you mention, a few of them or all of them if you want?
Oh, um, yeah.
And some of
So
the, sorry, and some of the achievements as well with those clubs.
yeah. Well, so well, I'll give a shout out to my I won't say like where it completely all started, but where I think things really started to take hold was with Bakersfield Alliance was my club team. Love playing with those guys. I'm actually planning to meet up with them for kind of a reunion here, hopefully in the next couple of months. Um, and then my high school team, then college, I played for UC Davis, and then I got drafted by the Earthquakes. I played for the Rapids, where we won an MLS Cup championship. Um, a quick stint with New York Red Bulls before joining Toronto FC. Then time in Chicago. Shout out Quincy time, where that all started. We're in the 10-year anniversary of that here with 2023. A second stint with the Earthquakes. Shout out Life of a Pro vlog that we did there, and the chip goal. To then join Montreal Impact, which was a great time. I really enjoyed my teammates while I was there, and then landed with DC United, where we did the hashtag Ask a Soccer Pro show, and really started diving into and speaking a lot more to mental health and the Mental Strength League. And then everybody knows what happened in 2020 with the shutdowns, and that was a time where I was in free agency, and yeah, now just reflecting on the journey. It's been quite a journey, right?
Yeah.
And then had joined Las Vegas Lights for the last couple of games of the season there, and then joined Oakland Roots after that, and then just been getting my furthering my coaching license and badges, and been working as a player coach here with the local club Valley FC. So I mean, that doesn't even include a lot of the semi-pro teams that I played with over summers in college, and just like throughout the career here and there. And it just, any and every opportunity I've had to play, regardless of the level that it's at or against who, just, I love playing the game. And you can be a professional, and you can approach it as a professional at any level. So it doesn't matter what level you're at. And maybe that kind of speaks to what you're asking me before about other players. Like, it doesn't matter what tag or level you're playing at. You can still be a professional and play at the top, at the highest level at any level. And there's with the number of opportunities that are coming, and the growth of soccer in America, especially, you can get seen at any point in time. And there's so many pathways and options and vehicles to playing at whatever level you may be interested in wanting to get to at some point in time, wherever you're at. So don't think that just because you're on a semi-pro team right now, or you're struggling to even get to one, or you're at the top level, that your situation can't completely change, in a moment's notice. So give 100% every single time, and it'll serve you well over your career.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I always heard growing up is you always want to play 100% to what you're saying, and you never know who's watching you. So that was one of the sayings. You've won the MLS Cup. Would you say that's the biggest achievement you've had, or is there something else that you would say was bigger than that?
I'd say, like, let's say team accolades that where people are saying, oh, okay, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. But I think I've always been focused on, like, my teammates. My number one goal was to be the greatest teammate of all time. How I would define it, and through the KPIs and models that I've been developing through my game model and stuff over the course of my career, just that would be my biggest achievement. I feel like, oh, okay, this would be a better way to, like, quantify it. For great achievements, players that I've played against that maybe have never been on my team, after their career, when they say, hey, I never looked forward to playing against you, which means they knew it was going to be a battle, and it was going to be difficult, and they're going to have to earn their win. I take pride in that. That's a huge achievement as it relates to that. And then knowing that, my teammates, if we're doing a small-sided game or a small-sided team, and players could choose who they want on their squad, them picking me, because they know they know the consistency I'm going to bring, the standard I'm going to bring, and I'm going to figure out how we can work best together to win the game and objective. And sometimes that's going to be scoring the goal, and many times that's going to be me tracking back on defense and helping on the other side of the ball and setting up my teammate for success. So I think seeing and knowing when players value and appreciate that is a big accomplishment for me. And that, I think, hopefully gives kind of separation of, like, the traditional things of scoring goals and team of the weeks and those types of things. I think like your teammates, and if they pick you for their small-sided or small-sided squad, speaks so much more. It speaks so much higher. I think in the professional soccer space.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to the next generation of soccer players who want to go pro and play in MLS?
Um, well, because I got asked that question so many times throughout my career, and I'm always thinking of how can I be as efficient with the most valuable asset and resource that we all have, which is time. And the thing I speak to a lot in the locker room and with my mentees and players is we wrote the Perfect Soccer Player Blueprint: Mastering 9 Keys to Soccer Success. So that book is a book that we've we kind of downloaded all the experience, all the lessons learned from tens of thousands of hours invested on and off the field and improving our game into a consumable, easy to read book that everyone could get access to for free. And that's what I would recommend and where I'd recommend you start, because each player has different strengths and weaknesses and different aspects of their game that they may need to be focused on or improving. And there's no blanket one particular thing, but there might be having a standardized framework of how to think about it and how to approach it and prioritize it was something that we thought was really important. So I'd recommend you start there and read that, and then from there that would help give you the framework to decide how best you get very specific with what you feel will increase the likelihood that you'll maximize your future soccer opportunities.
Absolutely. All right, so Quincy, we touched on a lot of points here on this interview. You've mentioned, a lot of your experience on the field, off the field, the things that you've learned. You've shared some great wisdom with us. Um, and one of the main points I've taken away is, prioritizing, post career is very important to plan after your career is done and over with. Not, a lot of players do that per se, but you have, and that's with all the companies that you've created, you've founded or co-founded, for example, Evolve NFTs, Lend Care Foundation, Black Players for Change, Perfect Soccer. You've really dialed into planning after, even though you've had a successful career, you've planned after on what you're going to do next. And I'd love to dive deeper into it in future interviews and learn a bit more about that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I know we wanted to keep this episode short and succinct, but love for us to maybe spend some time just going into the weeds on how those organizations came about and the thinking behind them, and then a lot of the time and resources that went into bringing them to life. So me, open book, so
Absolutely.
we could plan for that in the future.
Absolutely. All right, so just 6 fun questions. You got to answer them fast. We'll go through it fast. What is your favorite sport besides soccer?
Oh, I really enjoyed UFC. Really enjoyed that. I unfortunately haven't had too much time to follow that along and continue in that. But when I was into it, I was definitely into it.
Favorite sports team? Favorite soccer team? In the US and Europe.
My favorite soccer team is whichever team I'm playing for at the time.
And what
So
about
right
Europe?
now I'm Valley FC, so that's my favorite team.
What about in Europe?
Oh, Europe. Um, I'll let's come back to that, because in my coaching course they just gave us like what is it called, the fantasy link to join and do that. So that'll be the first time that I'm gonna participate in like the European soccer fantasy team. So I need to do more research. I'm gonna reach out to Sam's Army to ask him which one would be the best team for me to follow. I think he did like an article on how to do that. So I need to go do that, and I'll come back around. I met him at TST this earlier this year, so he's gonna be my go-to guy to help me on that, because I have no idea. Like I said, I love playing soccer. I play here in the States. My favorite players are my teammates that I play with. So I'll hold that one for later.
What about favorite player?
Favorite player?
Yeah, did you have like a favorite player growing up?
Um, I really like Ronaldinho would do like Nike football clips, Nike soccer at the time. Like now I'm dating myself, but some like the first video clips and stuff that were on the internet. Like one of the commercials that he did went like super. I don't even know if anyone knew it's called viral at the time, but uh, I love seeing like some of his stuff. You would have to maybe spend like a full day and hope that no one unplugged the dial up internet when you're trying to download like a 20-second clip of something at the time. Yeah, so yeah, man. I'd say yeah, Ronaldinho.
Favorite music and favorite
Class.
artist.
Sorry,
Favorite music and favorite artist.
classical. I really like classical music. Um, Music artist. Shows how little I'm listening to music.
Okay. Favorite food.
Sorry. Uh, Favorite food? I like smoothies. Go to smoothie, fruit smoothie.
Yeah. And what about favorite activity besides soccer?
Uh, Favorite activity outside of soccer is like entrepreneurship. That's really been my focus and passion. But um, I've been getting really into farming. So I got my farm truck ID, and was it like a year and a half ago, and then we've been building out Amarikwa acres this past like 2 years specifically. So I'm trying to grow stuff, keep it alive. Not too successful at it, but that's I think half the fun, like learning something new and getting my hands dirty. So I've been enjoying that and um, all the things that are going along with doing that.
Sounds good. Well, Quincy, thank you. I appreciate you for taking the time for joining us on the One Soccer Nation podcast.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.